I mean, and it's so weird. They're like exile. It's so weird when Jedi make people go into exile, especially those dark side users, because it can almost come off as them saying, "All right, there is no way we'll be able to convince you that we're right, because hell, even we don't believe it that much." So, I mean, it would think that, like, if you're so right, then obviously you should be able to have very convincing arguments. But they don't. They have nothing to say, which is the same thing that happened with Revan. Instead of, like, they know there's no way we're going to be able to convince him that we're right, because, hell, he might be right. So we're going to have to brainwash him instead. It's just the way it is. In order for us to get our way, we're just going to have to brainwash him. To be fair, I think a Jedi-like philosophy can possibly be found if you face hardships in isolation. That's their stance. That they think, alright, we're just gonna toss you into space, and maybe on your own with no one to counter your arguments, you might just come to the conclusion that we're right. Maybe. Probably not. I mean, of all the people that the Jedi have ever sent into exile, maybe the only one was Ulic Caldroma. They sent him into exile, didn't they? And he lost his connection to the Force. Man. And for goodness sake, I mean, the X Factor's involved. We're just gonna take a horde of Dark Jedi and just toss them into space. Nothing can go wrong. Come on, though. Come on, now. I mean, why is it? I was asking this question on Twitter the other day. Why is it that Jedi are so susceptible to fall into the dark side? The Jedi would have you believe that if you're Force sensitive, you will automatically fall to the dark side if you don't follow their religion. But the question remains, are Jedi so susceptible to fall into the dark side because they're Force sensitive, or is it because of the Jedi teachings? Or maybe not completely because of the Jedi teachings. Maybe it's the teachers. Or both. Because some would say yes, it's the teachers. That if the Jedi teachings are properly implemented, then they will never fail. Then they won't fail. Which is what Atros was trying to say, even though she was already on the dark side. So again, perspectives, people. I mean, she was adamant. They're like, no, I'm the one who's going to put it. I'm the one who has the right idea. I'm the one who's going to teach people proper Jedi teachings. And she was just going to turn into a Sith. Ugh. Atros. Come on, man. The Jedi teachings is the best method to prevent individual falling to the dark side. How? How do you know that? How does everyone know that? I'm not just going to take the Jedi's word for that. Because, I mean, especially since so many Jedi, the whole reason the Sith Lords even came into existence is because of the Jedi. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm certainly not going to take the Jedi word for it. Yes, I mean, a Jedi is obviously biased. They're obviously going to be like, yes, the Jedi teachings are the best way to keep you from falling to the dark side, but the only people saying that is the Jedi. And then you have Sith. The Sith might say the same thing, that the Sith code is the best way for you to falling to the light side, but there have been Sith that went and to the light as well, just from because of a difference of opinion. It's all opinions, people. It's all people doing stuff, and us attaching labels such as good and evil to their actions,
even when the figure deserves no such obedience.
Someone just did something. Kyle Brown just subscribed. I don't know if he's in the stream right now. Probably not. But if you are, thanks for the subscription, Kyle. We're gonna have a lot of fun together, I'm sure. Yes, I'll agree on the nature of the Force and work on its single axiom. The Force corrupts you if you use it selfishly. But even that can be subjective. Selfishly. What constitutes selfishness? Especially because sometimes in life you have to be selfish in order to gain the best outcomes. Best. Again, we're back to good and evil again. There's no avoiding it. Or the better outcomes in terms of, sometimes you would have to be selfish for down the line to save more people's lives, for example. Revan did that a lot during the Mandalorian Wars. He had to. Otherwise, any other Jedi wouldn't have been able to do what Revan did, to be willing to go against the Jedi Code and do what Revan did. And in effect, they would lose the war. But thankfully, it was Revan. In Legends, at least, there was a lot of different orders, a lot of different religions. I don't think it's a far gone conclusion that simply being Force sensitive means that you fall to the dark side by definition, because that's Atrus's argument. Atrus basically argued that if you are not a Jedi, then you're by definition a Sith, which is nonsense. Sith required teachings just like the Jedi. Simply being even if you are on the dark side, that doesn't automatically make you a Sith. The Sith are the reaction to Jedi Stoicism. Maybe that's what the question arises. Is it the Jedi teachings that results in people falling to the dark side because they're not prepared? You tell them all their life that they should avoid their emotions, which on its head is impossible, that they should shed them. And then once you get into an emotional situation, they don't know what to do. They don't know how to react. And so it can easily become so overwhelming that next thing you know, boom, dark side. The Jedi's teachings are the Force's will? I have no idea. But you know what? Probably, yeah. The Jedi are fantastic. If you're the Force, the Jedi are a fantastic tool to have. But then again, if what we speculate about the Force is true, then the Sith are also a great tool to have. And I ask both, and it's like a child holding, two action figures and slamming them together. Entertainment almost, except maybe not entertainment, but for fuel. Ancient George. Yeah, chat was hacker. The only power higher than the Force is clearly amity. Hold on, wait a minute. Ancient George, over on Twitch, has some true words of wisdom. He says the only power higher than the Force is clearly anime titties. I couldn't have said it better myself, ladies and gentlemen. And he says, I hope we can all agree. Maybe you wish we can all agree. Just hoping it that I don't think it's going to happen. But he says, bless you all. And then I guess I'm out. Take care of yourself, Ancient George. The Force is a god and only few individuals could tap into the Force. Anime titties.